Good morning everyone. So today's video is going to go out to all the van life enthusiasts out there, and basically what I wanted to do is something a bit of an off topic from our usual house renovation content, and what I wanted to share with you is a couple of tips and tricks around some of the essential installations when you do a van conversion. And I've been doing van conversions in the past, and there's a super elaborate one that we've actually done for ourselves, and I'd love to share a video with you sometime when I have time to review all the footage that I have from back then. However, this one is literally just one that I was happy to help out on kind of the more tricky things. So it will be a split video in two parts, because I think I'm trying to go a bit into detail in some points, and I don't want the video to be too long. So essentially in the first video here, I'm just going to be looking at, you know, cutting a hole into the frame of the bus and to install a new window in the roof. And in the second part, I'll be looking at the electrical system. So basically installing a PV system and seeing on how this could be joined into an electrical system within the car. Both of which obviously I'm going to try to be quite swift about it, but just, you know, a bit of a follow along really. So stay tuned for today's video and let me know in the comments below if you have any experience or questions around that topic. Already broke two blades, and I kind of did with a jigsaw because, well, it's kind of precise and it's good and all, but I mainly did it because previously I always did it with a jigsaw. But this was maybe not necessarily because jigsaw was the best choice. It was more because I just had one with a battery and I didn't have electricity. And well, now I got pissed off about the fact that I just broke two blades. But I figured I actually got this baby. So I think I'm gonna be using this to cut the metal. So basically we're one day later, and what we thought is going to be a really quick installation actually turned out to be a lot more tricky than that. And this is due to the fact that essentially, despite the fact that the hole and maybe the direct frame of the window, which was going to be glued onto the car, had actually a size which fitted between those elevations in the roof. The outer layer of the roof, so the outer layer of the window, I'll show you. So this part, the part that opens, the clear part, a measurement you usually don't get when you order your window, or at least you really have to pay attention to that, is actually wider, and due to the fact that it closes directly above the roof, which obviously makes sense for aerodynamic reasons, because you don't want the wind to be kind of forcing your window up whilst you drive, it's a lot wider. So we found out that the window doesn't actually fit, and so instead of despairing, the approach here, there are two ways of doing it. Now actually, officially there's only one way. Officially, you'd have to then get one of those frames that fits the shape of the roof and aligns it at the top. So you basically elevate your roof slightly to then be able to fit your window perfectly on. This has two issues. One, obviously we didn't have one, but essentially it costs money. You have to really try to find it. It's not that easy, because every roof is a bit different. And the second disadvantage is the one I already mentioned, it elevates the window. So what that means is the whole aerodynamic aspect, again, is kind of playing against you. So long story short, we decided to go a bit of a brute approach here. It's the hammer method, and the so-called hammer method. And it was to basically, I put a board underneath, and held it up with some vice, and then I just hit with a hammer on it, flattening those bumps, as you can see here. I don't know if you can see it. I basically flattened them as far as necessary to fit the whole window in. And I mean, obviously this damages your varnish and everything, so then we couldn't finish the window yesterday because then it took some time to put some you know, pre-rust conversion stuff that makes sure that we're not going to get any rust at these spaces. Put like 3 layers of those, let it dry for like 6 hours. Then we put another layer of red spray paint, so it looks, I mean, nobody looks so much at the roof anymore, but essentially it's closed and we're good. And I'm gonna put another layer of see-through varnish on it as well. However, I will do this at the end and just do it basically next to the window, and put some tape on the window, because now I would like to get to it and get this window on here, because we are supposed to get some rain later, and then, I mean, we will have to cover it up, but I hope we'll be at the stage where at least there won't be any rain entering the roof. All right, so long story short, the way to do this, you can use various kind of sticky materials, like various things to glue or the window on the roof. It doesn't have to be a glue, like a glue for cars. There's a bit of difference. I prefer mostly products from Sikaflex. They're not sponsoring this, so I'm saying this because I actually just had a good experience with it. And they have some which are really for gluing, and that means you will literally never be able to take this window off again. And then there are some that more serve the purpose to simply seal it properly, because those windows don't need to be glued as such. They have those kind of things. Got one here. Those like hooks that go from the inside into it, and they basically have one screw that goes along this hook into the window, holding it down, and the second one going into the roof, I'm gonna call it. The one thing to pay attention here is if you buy one of those vans, and I assume when building it out you're obviously gonna strip it, meaning all you have is, well, a sheet of metal. And every time I've put in one of those windows, the way I did it, because they obviously already, when buying the window, you'll see they will tell you need to have at least a thickness of 2.5 centimeters. Obviously no roof's gonna have 2.5 centimeters as such if once you stripped it. Then again, once you insulate your roof properly, you probably will have more than that. So the way I did it, I built from you know, thin oak wood pieces, or you can take any wood, honestly. Just a frame that exactly fits this. The hole that I cut, and it will basically just be put from the bottom against it, so that I have something that these hooks can grab onto and hold against. And then obviously it doesn't even have to be super stable. In theory, you could also just take some little pieces and put them underneath, because it's not going to go anywhere. But I mean, usually if you take on a project like this, you should be having some kind of tool. So building a frame within the size of you know, just going around the opening of the roof that you did shouldn't be too much of an issue. Alrighty, let's get to it. I'm gonna start off by actually tracing the exact size of it, so that I have an idea about that. So das mal hier sehen. Alright, so when installing it, actually I don't want to have this thing on it. I'm gonna take this off, it's just gonna be in the way. So this window has a quite easy way of just, you know, pulling this out, and it's gonna make my life a lot easier. So actually see, this was the problem area, right? So it wouldn't fit here. So yes, it's not super neat, and I had to squash them, but better than not fitting the window in. So it's all about compromise, I guess. go here. I'm gonna do a quick marking of where this window sits. This is gonna help me basically, you know, cleaning the right area and then putting the sealant product properly in the right place. Alrighty. This time I'm gonna be using Sikaflex 554, which is basically a proper glue. So that being considered, we won't be able to take that window off easily anymore, at least not in one piece. But that's not really the idea. Hopefully it will hold for a while. And the way to do this is, I mean, obviously you're gonna need, well, basically to install it, maybe to recap a little bit. To install it, you're gonna need something to cut open the window, something to measure properly the hole you need. Ideally, a wooden frame for thickening the window, or the thickness of the roof from beneath. You're gonna need one of those to be pressing the glue out. You're gonna need a glue. Probably with this, you're gonna need, depending on which one you need, an activator, which is going to basically improve the performance of this glue. And then, in case it kind of gets squeezed out further, then the frame of the new window, you could actually just take this little yogurt pot over there. I got some water with a bit of soap, and this you can use to just flatten it out, because it reacts quite well to just smoothen it out with that, basically by hand afterwards. So it's handy to have it ready. Okay, so back to this. We got that ready. Also here, since the roof isn't perfectly level, well, it is level, but in terms of, I've just shown you, I was hitting with a hammer, there might be very minor kind of deflections, and due to those, one obviously should not be too, should be economizing on this stuff, because this also is obviously going to be smoothing that out, because it gets pressed, and yeah, so I'll be using that generously. Okay, and the activator comes with one of those, and here it is. Also, actually, for those kind of things, I do like to wear gloves. And this will obviously, everybody's going to recommend you to wear gloves, obviously, but sometimes I'm like not too worried about that. However, that kind of glue really sticks with you, literally, for a long time. Whew! Tell you, man, this stuff smells like definitely getting high off. So gonna be keeping it far away whilst I'm on the roof. Maybe also later. Okay, and now let's put a nice thing of those. I like to cut them a little flatten them by hand and do a little dent underneath. Helps you put a nice kind of shape on it. Alrighty, that's it. We good. I mean, as you've seen, this isn't the most beautiful path I've done in my life, but essentially it doesn't really matter because it's plenty. So we're just gonna stick it on and see what happens, and then we're gonna have to maybe clean a little bit around it. But this is kind of the next step. Okay, so here now I got the frame ready. Just gave it a little swipe down. We don't want to have any dust on it. And actually, before putting it in place, I'm just gonna give it a bit of the activator as well. Not too much though. We don't want it going all over the top here. it's totally sufficient to just put it in this dent that you see here. And that's it. Smells rough. Okay, and now we're gonna put it in place. The exciting moment. As mentioned, pay attention to get the hinges on the right side. You want to get them towards the front of the car. This so that your window doesn't go flying while on the drive. All right, now when placing it, also here, very meticulous about getting in the right position. All right, so far it's set. Seems good to me. All right, it's in position. I don't need to do any pressing actually at this point in time because it's going to be sealed from the inside. And the way I want to do this is I'm just going to go inside. I'll take you with me. And I'll position the frame that I got over there, the wooden frame. And then I can drive in the screws, which are basically then gonna pull it, you know, pull kind of the sandwich between the wooden frame that comes from the bottom of the roof and the frame that's on the top. All right, let's get to it. Okay, one little correction. I just put a bit more of the Sealant Sikaflex stuff actually on the frame of the new window because that was one of my mistakes. I put it on the car, which you can do, but you're gonna really have to know where is the place where it should be on the frame because it has on purpose kind of like a little dent where the sealant should be applied. So it's actually a lot easier to put on the frame instead of first putting it on the car, which was a bit stupid. So when I lifted it up again, I kind of saw where it was and where it wasn't, so I could correct it. But don't do this. All right, so here you see positioning the wooden frame around it. Works well. I'm gonna need some help though. Hate those in-bits, man. Only buy Torx if you have the choice. All the rest is crap. Okay. All right, and they basically, I mean, there are like, how many there? 3, 6, 10 of them. So 10 times the same thing, really, same procedure. And I mean, there are 4 screws per kind of little angle to put, but the idea I think is you want to have it sitting nice and straight on your roof, so don't tighten it fully on one end. Just like I put one screw there, one the opposite, and I'm gonna do the same thing here and just work my way through like this. That's it. I mean, it's not completely it. Basically, now the frame is in, I can clean out the rest that kind of was pushed out, or I leave it to be seen. And for the inside, there's obviously, once the insulation is in, there's another frame, decorative frame that comes from the inside. All right, and there you have it. The window's in and has been battle tested in the rain, so everything works and holds fast. So that's basically it. So just to recap, I mean, take your measurements very precisely before you buy a window, and take into consideration that those bumps on the roof can be a challenge. So, and otherwise it's actually pretty straightforward. Yeah, so if you have questions, just drop in the comments below and stay tuned for the second part where I'm going to be explaining the electrical system with a PV module on there.